video, we're gonna recreate the videos you just saw. We're gonna be using Cinema 4D's particle system and some modifiers, mainly the surface attract, which is a really cool modifier. It's really powerful, and we're gonna combine it with a few others and just create something that's pretty dynamic and easy to kind of apply on pretty much any geometry that you have, which is pretty cool. To get us started, I have a setup here, really basic stuff. I have this model, which is a statue. I got it from Bridge, I believe, Quixel, and I think it's on fab.com now or something, but really basic, nothing fancy, basic geometry. I also have this background, which is just a plane. I have this camera that is positioned just in front of the statue, and I have some lights, which I'll just take a minute to go over. I'm going to open up my Redshift viewer, move this here to the side, and pretty basic lights. I'll just go through them quickly. The first one is a gobo that kind of gives it this dramatic look. I also have a key light that's kind of fills in the main piece. I have a fill light, which is kind of coming in from the other side, and I have a background light that's just lighting up the plane, the background a little bit more. The way that works, very simple. You just go to projects and go to include and include the items you want this light to affect. I'm gonna just reduce my fill light a little bit. It's a bit too strong. There you go. All right. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna create a mesh emitter. I have my emitters and modifiers and like simulation stuff here. You can find them all pretty much from the simulate section here. But to make it easier for myself, I like to keep these handy right here. I'm gonna add a mesh emitter. I'm gonna make sure my statue is selected as my geometry. I want it to emit from the volume of my geometry. The voxel size, I'm gonna make it really small. I'm gonna make it 1, and that just makes the emission come out sharper as opposed to big blocks. I'm just gonna get rid of my Redshift viewer. I don't need to see it right now. We're gonna emit at let's say 3500 rates, and we don't want it to go all frames. I'm just gonna go for the first 100 frames. Let's also go to the properties. I'm gonna make my speed 0. I'm gonna select the direction to be random and the alignment here random. And the color, I'm just gonna create noise and load a preset. I'm gonna hide the statue and see how this looks. Pretty straightforward. I'm gonna extend my timeline to 1000 frames. Pretty straightforward. They go for 100 frames and then they stop emitting and it stays here. Next thing we're gonna do is let's give this some motion. I'm gonna I like to click on the particle group and then hold shift and click on any modifiers. Holding shift will place it directly in here. So I'm just gonna add the turbulence. I'm gonna make it really light, maybe only 1 strength, and scale, let's make it like 50. And let's just play this quickly. And obviously they start going crazy. I'm gonna make it even lighter. Let's go 0.2. And they start moving. Of course, they're gonna move outside of the geometry of the statue because they don't recognize that yet, but that's where the surface attract will come in. So let's do that. Let's click on the particle group, hold shift, surface attract. Let's put that to the bottom. Let's keep these by default the same. If I press play, nothing will happen, and that is because the surface attract needs a collider or a simulation tag really to interact with. So I'm gonna click on my statue and I'm gonna add a collider tag, and that should do it. So what's happening now, the turbulence is pushing these guys around, and they're sticking to the mesh because of the surface attract. Now, just to show you something, if I do bump up the strength of the turbulence, 2 for example, at some point they start leaving the mesh, and that is because ooh, sorry, my machine's going crazy. There we go. That's because on the surface attract there's a radius of 10 centimeters, which means that when something is let me press play here quickly. When something is 10 centimeters around this, it'll do its best to make it adhere to these rules, to do the surface attract. But if it goes beyond that, it loses control. So, and the turbulence is so strong now that it's pushing it outside of those 10 centimeters. So I could bring this up, but that'll just slow down my machine quite a bit. The bigger this is, the harder Cinema 4D has to work to calculate all those. So I'm just gonna keep this lower. I'm gonna keep this at like 0.5. I don't need the turbulence to be so strong. We might actually kill the turbulence in a bit, which I'll explain why, but this is good enough to get us going. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add, you'll notice right now like the particles kind of go on top of each other, they intersect, they don't really respect each other's boundaries. So what we're gonna do to create a little bit of particle-to-particle collision, we're gonna use the flock modifier, which is a really powerful modifier that can give you a lot of cool effects. I'm gonna kill turbulence for now. We're gonna bring the maximum speed of this flock modifier to, let's say, just 20. We don't want any cohesion strength, but what we do want is separation strength. So I'm going to leave that at 1 and radius of 2.5. And that's going to make the particles kind of push apart, give each other some space, which will sort of give us like a particle-to-particle collision effect. So notice now how they do it. If I kill the flock, for example, they just go inside of each other and so on. But the flock gives it more defined geometry. So this is cool. And you'll notice that they're moving by themselves without the turbulence. And that's because they're trying to respect these rules. And with these rules, they're creating this velocity and they're starting to move. So that's pretty cool. Before we continue, I just wanted to mention Skillshare, who is kindly sponsoring this video. Skillshare, if you don't know, is the largest online community for creatives. Whether you're into 3D, animation, design, film, illustration, there's a class on Skillshare that can take your interests and passions to the next level. Personally, I've been eager to learn ZBrush, and I've been taking Patrick Foley's class there, which is pretty awesome. If you are interested, the first 500 people to use my link in the description will get 1 month free on Skillshare. So join today, explore the skills, and yeah, have fun. Yeah, let's jump back into this video. So the way these particles show up is they just show up because of the emission here. What we can do to make this feel a little bit cooler is make them scale up using a data mapper and adjusting the radius as time goes on. So let's do that. I'm gonna drop in a data mapper. I'm gonna also just go to my particle group and draw the radius, but make the radius 0. So if I play this now, oh, what happened? Oh, let me just kill the data mapper for a second. If I play this, they're showing up like this because there is a radius on my item. So I'm going to make this 0 as well and press play. You're not going to see anything at all because the radius is 0. So we're going to use the data mapper. Let me activate this, and we're going to say for the age, let's say like 45. So every particle, when from 0 to 45, we're going to make the radius go up to 1 centimeter. And let's make this a little bit more interesting. I'm just going to use like an ease out, ease in. And let's see how this looks now. So you'll notice they kind of grow within these 45 seconds. And of course, they're growing at different rates because our emission is constant for the first 100 frames. So they're constantly coming in. So that looks cool as is. That could be cool as well. If you do click repeat, you'll end up with this like bubbly effect because it's doing it over and over again, which is also cool. I'm gonna leave it at clamp for now, but we can see it when it renders with different effects. So that's pretty much how we get this going. To give this a little bit more of a cooler feeling, we're gonna add a little geometry below the statue. I'm just gonna bring in a cylinder, bring it down, make it a little bit bigger, and I'm gonna bring up the segments, and I'm gonna bring my camera out a little bit so we can see that. Just gonna go to my camera and bring it out a little bit. There's this. There's that cylinder. I'm gonna bring it up a little bit, but we're gonna give this cylinder a little bit of a cool effect by giving it a little bit of like deformation on some of these edges. So the way I'm gonna do that is I'm gonna bring in another object, the landscape, and I'm gonna go to object. I'm gonna make this spherical. And I'm gonna make this a lot smaller. Let's make it like this. And let's also bring up the segments on this a little bit. There we go. So the reason why we're doing that, we just want to use some of this geometry to create something cool. I'm gonna add a volume builder and a volume measure and put that in here as well. And I'm gonna bring the voxel size down to 1 and make these intersect. And now let me bring up not this intersect. Oh, that doesn't make too a difference, but this is cool as is. So I can bring this up a little bit more and just create something a little bit cool. I think it looks cool as is. I'm gonna bring up my redshift render so we can see this. And all right, let's make this a little bit bigger. Yeah, that's kind of more what I wanted. and bring this down a little bit right here. Yeah, I kind of want these cracks right here. I'm gonna bring in a basic material. I'm just gonna go create material, material, double click on it, and I'm just gonna use something really basic. I'm just gonna use a copper effect. It's just the one that's built into Cinema and Redshift, and I'm gonna apply that to my particle group, and I'm gonna apply that to the measure of this base here. Let's call this base. I'm gonna also, just so we see this a little bit better, I'm gonna make this 1280 by 1280, and I'm gonna zoom in the camera on there. Go to camera, and let's make this 250 or maybe 150, and bring in this a little bit. I'm gonna make this a little bit rougher. I'm gonna go here and make this a little bit rougher. There we go. I'm also gonna go here. Let's see if this makes a difference. Yeah, that makes it a bit smoother. Okay, but we can bring in other materials here as well. You know what, like this asphalt might look better on the base as well, for example. Making this smaller. It depends what you're going for, but good enough for now. To get this looking cooler, because right now obviously all these are spheres, the light is hitting them in the same way, it doesn't look all that exciting. To get this looking a little bit cooler, I'm gonna get rid of this for now. I'm gonna get rid of the materials for now, and I'm gonna add a redshift tag on the particles, and I'm gonna use a custom object, and let's just drop in a cube. Let's make it 1.5 by 1.5 by 1.5, and let's use that cube as the geometry here. And now let's apply that material on the cube instead, which gets us looking a little bit cooler. I'm gonna bring in another material for this. I'm gonna use Grayscale Gorilla and bring in a cooler material for the base. Let's bring in this guy. Apply this here, that looks better. Let's make this a little bit smaller. Let's go 60 by 60. That's okay for now, that's cool. So one thing that would be cool to do as well is to make these particles collide with the base here. So I'm gonna bring up the base a little bit so they hit here, and I'm going to add a collider tag on the base. And let's play this and see what happens. So they collide on the base, but you'll notice that they start doing the surface attract on the base, which kind of looks cool, to be honest. Depends on what you're going for. But that's what's happening here. A way to avoid this and just make it collide on the base is to go to the surface attract and exclude this tag. So now they will just bump on there, and they won't continue doing the surface attract, but it creates a little bit of a cool collision here as opposed to them just going through it. What we're going to do as well, you'll notice, for example, we're losing a bit of definition of the statue, and that's because maybe the strength is too much on these guys, so they're trying to separate too much. So bringing down the strength could give us back some of that definition. Yeah, that helps. Could also bring down the separation radius, let's say to like 1.5. That also will help. So in order to get the other kind of two effects, which is the spiky effect and the full-on kind of geometry on the statue, we're gonna do a couple of things. For the spikes, pretty simple, but what you can do is duplicate the main cube a few times. Make sure you go here and add them all here. 3, 4, and 5. Now we're using these all the time. Another quick little thing before we jump into that, I'm just gonna add a fillet here to make it look a little bit cooler. It's gonna be small, but it looks a little bit smoother, which is cool. And now I'm gonna take one of these guys and I'm gonna make it small. It's gonna be 0.2, and this is gonna be 20, and this is 0.2. And now we get this like crazy spiky look. And if you do this, for example, on a couple of them, we're gonna get more spikes, for example, or maybe some of them. Let's make this one, for example, 50, and now just a couple of them will go crazy or smaller. We're going in tens here just to show you what it is, but that's a quick way of doing kind of a disturbing spiky look, but looks kind of cool when it's fully animated. They're all in motion. It looks pretty cool. For now, I'm gonna take all of these, make them all 1.5 by 1.5, 1.5. To make it a little bit more dynamic, I'm going to take 2 of these and make them 0.7, 0.7, 0.7, and take 2 more and make them 3, 3, and 3. Maybe 3 is too much. Let's go 1.9. Just to make it feel a little bit more random, which looks cool. For the full kind of smooth geometry, we're going to use a volume builder and mesher, as you might have imagined. So just applying a volume builder and a volume mesher. And the builder, we want the voxel size to be really small, let's say 1. And make sure you select the particle group and bring down the radius here to something pretty small, maybe like 1.5. And let's apply that same material on, sorry, not this, on the volume mesher. And that's how we get the full thing here. If you do click on volume builder, you can also apply a smooth. That'll get it a lot smoother. You might want to play with this a little bit to get it looking better. Play with a couple things. The particle size, like this is looking like really smooth, which is kind of cool. Or you can keep the particles small. Let's say they are 1.5, and then go to the smooth and adjust a little bit of how much you want to show, or how strong the smooth is, I should say. And then if you play this, the particles start off small, they grow, and they start taking shape, and they create this cool effect. And that's pretty much it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks very much.